In this video, I'm going to tell you what my 500 pound Ssangyong Rodius is really like after covering 900 miles in it in just a couple of weeks. Ssangyong Rodius is an MPV. This one dates from 2007. It comes from South Korea, and the styling is very odd. That's all most people know about the Ssangyong Rodius, but actually there's a lot more to take in. This one's not in the best shape. We've got this awful paint on the driver's door. Why have I started this side? I'm an idiot. But overall, this seems a very solid example, and it's been interesting to put it through its paces. So the history of Ssangyong is complicated because what was Ssangyong is now KGM, KG Mobility, because a company called KG bought Ssangyong Motors and rebranded it KGM, KG Mobility. Sexy. But actually Ssangyong was already another company that bought what was an existing motor company, and it became Ssangyong Motors, part of the Ssangyong group. But it's had a very checkered history. It was taken over by Daewoo at one point. It somehow escaped Daewoo before Daewoo collapsed. Daewoo, another South Korean company with links to General Motors. There was Mahindra were involved with Ssangyong for a time. SAIC in China bought up the remnants of MG Rover, amongst other things. So it's a very checkered history, but at this stage Ssangyong existed again. It had escaped from Daewoo, and they wanted to take on the world with bold styling, and the Ssangyong Musso, it became a Daewoo Musso 4x4, kind of started that trend. It was designed by Ken Greenlee. It is said that Ken Greenlee also designed this. I would love confirmation of that. Ken Greenlee, if you're watching, I would like to speak to you. He does still exist, and it is such a controversial design, but I don't want this to be just about the styling. The styling of the Ssangyong Musso gets discussed a bit too much. Yes, it's odd. Yes, it's quite hefty on this corner, and that piggy little rear window looks utterly ridiculous on something that is enormous. It's over 5 meters long. It is big, and I don't think the hefty looks help, but very robust. It's a commonly known fact that the Ssangyong Rodius was banned from banger racing because it's enormous and it just destroyed everything in its path. They are very solidly built. That comes across when you're driving it. A mechanical package is Mercedes-Benz, so let's go and have a look at the motor. So under this rather hefty bonnet we find the 5-cylinder 2.7 litre Mercedes-Benz straight 5 engine. 5-cylinder, makes nice noises. It's got lovely power delivery, 163 brake horse I think it is, and just instant. There's not really any turbo lag. It just gets up and gets down the road, and you can tune these up to a ridiculous degree, but we'll get to why that isn't a good idea in a moment. But Ssangyong at this stage had a good relationship with Mercedes-Benz, so it's a license built engine. I don't know if the gearbox is license built or bought over from Germany, but that's also a Mercedes-Benz unit. It's 5-speed. That also works very, very nicely, and I have no idea what the back end is, but the overall vibe I get is that this shares quite a bit with the Musso. I may be wrong in that, but it feels like an MPV developed from a 4x4 platform. The feeling only continues when you clamber into the thing, because you really do have to get up into it, and then the driving position is very, very high up, very commanding. You feel like you're in a Range Rover until you look at the outside and remember you're not, but it looks a lot nicer inside, I think. I'll bring you in for a closer look, but before I do, we'll just take in the rear space as well. Again, we've got the big wide opening doors, and then we can clamber in. Slight issue that the seat rather too low to the ground, so look at the gap between seat and back of knee. Very much designed more for children, but it's quite a comfortable seat. We've got little picnic tables in the front there, and if I pull this lever, I can spin the seat around. I can apparently take the carpet with me. Interesting. And now I've got a little fishing platform or something, but again my feet are so far away from the ground. You are very high up, and the floor is also very high up. It's quite an interesting sensation. The seat will, space permitting, rotate all the way around, so you can actually travel backwards, and with that in mind there is down here a little lap belt, so you can plug yourself in and you're held securely. I would not recommend travelling sideways. That's just for fishing. I don't know why else you would want to be that way. but otherwise just rotate it round, lock it in, he says, and then we can also move the seat back and forward as well. So if I don't want leg room, I can move the seat forward, I can move it back. But if I leave it forward, probably makes it easier to get into the rearmost seat, which you haven't seen yet. So I'm going to approach it from the other side of the car. Plenty of walk-through space because there are only 2 seats up front, and then for some reason you get 3 seats across the back here. And it's a similar story, but it feels a bit cramped, but there's plenty of leg room. Even with the front seats as far back as they'll go, there's still a fair bit of room. It'll be a bit cosy for 3 across this bench, I think. Probably better for children, but it's again not a bad place to sit. I'll tell you what's more interesting. In some markets, including Korea, you could get the Rodius with 4 rows of seats, seating up to 11, which is just crazy. It's a little claustrophobic back here. These tiny little windows don't open, so you're a bit hemmed in. But if the air conditioning was working, there are 4 vents in the roof, so at least you'd be fairly cool. What does all this do to boot space? Well, firstly, opening the boot at least takes away some of the ugliness. So here is the boot space. I'll bring you around for a closer look, but there is a fairly decent boot there, which is unusual for a 7-seater. But again, it's a massively long 7-seater, so you would expect it. And it's very easy to move this seat backwards or forwards. That was as far back as it'll go. That's as far forwards unless I move the seats in front forward. And you can lift these panels out, and then you can take it off the tracks. Just bring it all the way as far back as it'll go, and you can lift the entire bench out. I suspect we'll be doing that when we go to Rustival next month. Under here is where all your covers ping off, where the jack lives. Yep, so your jack and your tools live under this flap under the floor, which every time you lift up pulls these back out again, which is quite irritating. There we go. And then on this side you've got a panel that flaps around and has nothing in it, and this is the release for the spare wheel, which you can see in a previous video where I wound it down. But we'll just pull the seat back, and actually as I'm going down the road I like to fold it down, because otherwise I find the head restraints rather restrict your rear view. It's all very easy to operate, and as well as cup holders and speakers in the back, there's also another 12-volt power outlet for those essential gadgets. But yeah, there's my ducting for the air conditioning, which if it were to work would be great, and a 3rd mounting point for the middle of the 3 seats for the seat belt. So we'll take you inside. We get warning lights when we open the door. I quite like that. There's all your electric gubbins, and yeah, there we go. We've got a warning about your turbo. Always a good idea to let that turbo spin a bit when you turn it off. The switch gear is a little flimsy and naff as the door handle, but it all sort of works. We've got a wiper switch here, headlamp leveling, and then if we hop aboard, we've got this wonderful display where it actually shows you what gear you're in as you're going down the road. I quite like that. We've only got warning lights there because the speedometer, rev counter and gauges are here in the middle, which makes it quite easy to swap to left-hand drive. Speaking of which, there's a trip button here for resetting the trip, which doesn't seem to work, and there's a blanking plug the other side for that. Down here we've got that's the rear air conditioning fan, and on the opposite side we've got a blanking plug for that. It's a blanking knob. There is no purpose for that. It is just to balance out, because on left-hand drive that would be the control and that would be the blank. And then we've got air conditioning in the middle. There's a later Pioneer posh screen thing here, which does various things. Got 2 power outlets down here. We've got the cup holders, which are quite nice. Controller for the gear shift, and this is to go up and down the gearbox when you're in manual mode down here. And it's also got buttons on the steering wheel. In my experience, they're not actually very good, but I think it's all right in here. It's lovely condition for the age of the vehicle. You know, about 18 years old now. So I can't really complain about the condition at all. Up here we've got your digital clock and your lamps. So that's door and that's room. And you'll see we've got another controller for the fan up there, which can be overridden by this one. But yeah, it's not a bad place to sit at all. It's just very, very high up. But I'll get you mounted up and we'll go for a proper drive in the Rodius. Oh, this is good. You haven't been in the proper review position in this vehicle before. There are several videos on this car on the channel already, including collecting it with that broken alternator when I first collected it. It wasn't charging, so we ended up having to drive it all the way back from Essex, 300 miles on one battery. But it did it, to be fair. I'm going to put my seatbelt on because it is fond of a bong, is this thing. I shall prove it if I put the lights on and open the door. There you go. It doesn't like that. If you take your seatbelt off while the ignition's on, it doesn't like that. But we'll shut it up. Oh, actually, I just want to try the trip. Does it work without the engine running? No, it doesn't. So there we go. It fires up. This engine was used in vehicles such as the ML 270, the 4x4. It was actually built in America by Mercedes-Benz, and oh, it's got all that delicious 5-cylinder warbliness going on. We'll do another wiper review, but like I say, I've only got washers on one of the wipers, but good overlap, no triangle of doom. Previous owner supplied some wiper blades. The wipers work really, really well. And I've got to point out that if I turn on the headlights, I've worked out how to get the rear fog light working. You have to have the front fog light on, fog lights rather, before it'll let you put the rear one on. And then if you turn off the lights and turn them back on, the rear fog light is now off, but the fronts are still on. So it took some working out. I'll have to let my MOT man know that when I go visiting. I'm not going to bother with the aircon. I'm going to keep the windows down, at least for a bit, because it is awfully warm today. But we can probably go for a little less window. And up they come. Everything working much better now. It's charging much quicker. Into drive. And away we go. It's blissfully simple, but the driving dynamics do leave rather a lot to be desired. For getting down the road, if it's nice straight roads, it's not too bad, but get it onto Welsh twisty roads like the ones we're on, and for a start it feels enormous, and it just quickly loses its composure, I would say. And yeah, people have to get out your way. I will say it's got a good road presence. That weird grille on the front may be unusual, but people tend to see it and they do get out of your way. I don't know whether that's a good thing or not, but yeah, as it starts bouncing around and lolloping down the road, you really do feel that height, and I think it exaggerates the lack of really good body control. It just doesn't have that. But yeah, it's blissfully simple. It's good that it's got the display to tell you what gear it's in, because most of the time you wouldn't really know. And it's not very often I find it in the wrong gear. I do find if I slam it across into manual mode, it'll automatically do a downshift, and then I can... Then sometimes that button doesn't work at all. The auto locking has just kicked in, back into automatic. And she does gather pace well. I read reports saying these cars were considered slow, but I mean, sure, if you're comparing it with an Evo or an Impreza Turbo, it's not a quick vehicle, but it gathers pace quite nicely actually, and without troubling the upper echelons of the rev counter. It just doesn't go up there really, it doesn't need to. There's such torque and just the instant power. That's changing at about 2,600 RPM, and we're barreling along. We're barreling a bit much. The brakes are not good. I don't think these brakes are necessarily representative. There's a lot of travel in the pedal. I suspect a bit of a brake overhaul and some fresh fluid will go a long way to improving how it all feels. But yeah, you can kind of feel every imperfection in the road. It's not always jarring. Over badly broken ground, it really can crash about a bit. It just feels a little underdeveloped. Although, of course, this one's done 87,000 miles, and it's not in the first flush of youth. These are some of the worst bumps you can hit on that road, and They're not overly unpleasant really, but it's just when you get back on it and it's just the torque at around 2,500 revs, it really does pick up well, and that's us at 60 miles an hour, even with the windows open. It's a fairly modern car, but you can drive with the windows open. It's not unpleasantly loud. I mean, it's a lot quieter if you absolutely close everything, of course. Then you can hear more the road noise, but yeah, it actually covers ground and gets down the road well. It's just when you're on a twisty road, it's not good. But actually, overall, I'm finding I'm really enjoying the Ssangyong experience. Yes, it is ponderous on those back roads, but it is a big old lump of car, and I think it's going to be really useful for us because, oh, there goes the auto locking again. I'd love to disable that. Yeah, it offers so much space. We don't need the rearmost bench, so we're going to take that out, and then we're going to do Rustival in this car, and it should carry all our stuff and all our stock and 4 of us quite easily, he says. Let's see how much they each want to bring. But yeah, it just, I actually like getting into it and going for a drive. I like the commanding driving position. Miss Hubnut doesn't entirely enjoy clambering into the thing because it's quite a long way up for her little legs. But yeah, I just like it. It makes nice noises. It gets down the road well. It's actually fairly pleasant to drive as long as you're not tanking it and driving on Welsh roads too much. But yeah, it's just nice and effortless, and I think too many people write this car off entirely because of the looks, but I can't see it when I'm driving it. I'm just having a nice time, and surely that's important as well. So few people seem to go on about what they're actually like to drive, and I think too many people are kind of looking for the negatives just because of how ugly it is to them. I don't think it's ugly, I think it's distinctive. Is it pretty? No. But there's plenty of cars that aren't pretty. Subaru Impreza I will return to again. That was never a pretty car. And if you see one without the spoilers on, they look gawky and very weird indeed. Oh, listen to that. I thought I was over turbo diesels, to be honest, but this engine has changed my mind. And now I'm really warm. Aircon, but not the defrost because that's not working. There we go. Or rather, the air conditioning bit isn't working. That was one of them Subaru Imprezas. When we start barreling along on these roads, it really does feel out of place. The steering is vague. It just doesn't inspire confidence, and when you hit bumps mid-bend, it just feels unpleasant. And because of its sheer bulk, you just have to be very wary of what's coming the other way. If you meet larger vehicles, it's probably not going to end well. The only plus side being you are larger than most vehicles, certainly most cars. But you see that? Oh, that feels tight because you are in a big thing. This is much larger than that Nissan L Grand I drove recently. That felt a bit big on England's country roads, but believe me, this feels even bigger. And the brakes don't inspire confidence. And like say, the gearbox sometimes lets you shift it with this little thumb thing here, and sometimes not. Sometimes it just isn't in the mood. But because you sit high up again, I don't think it does body roll very much, but because you're so high, you really feel it. Pitch it in. Oh, yeah. Because the seats don't really hold you at all, driving on these roads for any distance becomes quite unappealing very quickly. And the other day I drove about 85 miles on roads like this to get across Wales because I was just sick of the M4 motorway, and would not recommend. This was not the vehicle for it because you're just constantly on the brakes. You've got 2.3 tons to try and haul down to a reasonable speed, so you feel like you're massacring the brakes. It's yeah, it's not its forte. But then I doubt it was built for these sorts of roads, really. It was for getting big families around South Korea. And if you just ease off and get motoring down the highway, it's really not bad at all. It actually feels pretty competent. It'll sail along at motorway speeds all day, although if you keep your speed down, you save an awful lot on fuel. So far, the first 2 tanks have averaged 32 mpg, which I don't think is too bad. Something that weighs 2.3 tons and has the aerodynamics of a house brick. But I think I may have managed to eke out a little more on the last trip. I was deliberately keeping the speed down to about 60, 62 on the motorway. And that may have helped, although I came back cross country, I may have utterly ruined that plan. But certainly a little speed saving can actually save a lot of fuel, and my Australian Ford Fairmont is exactly the same. Well, there we go, folks. That is the Ssangyong Rodius after 900 miles. I've grown quite fond of it, but it cannot stay. So this is going to be our first prize giveaway vehicle. If you want a chance to win this for £1, no purchase necessary, there is a postal option as well. Yeah, head to the link in the description below, and you could be owning a Ssangyong Rodius for £1. Not for a while though. This giveaway is going to run until at least the end of September, possibly first week of October, because we need this. This wagon is going to be useful, and with that in mind, we are going to continue improving this vehicle. I want decent tyres, I want a full service, I want to find out what the weird knocking noise is at the back. There is a lot to do. So thank you very much for watching, and I shall see you in a future video. Farewell. Me going Pachu has just really confused this lot who are watching my every move. Hi cows! Not very talkative, are they? Actually, I've got a collection of random notes that I need to add into this. So this is an addendum. Firstly, the gearbox has 2 modes. Winter, which I think makes it start off in 3rd gear, and standard, not sport. That was something I got wrong first time. And then you got all this lovely text here, some of which makes sense and some of which doesn't, which made me think it was an electronic parking brake. So I didn't go anywhere near it, but it isn't. It's that little pedal down there, and if I apply sandal, that is the parking brake applied and then released like so. Then we got the rear wiper test, which I filmed very badly when I fitted the alternator. So I need an SP12 rear wiper blade, if anyone's feeling kind. But yeah, an SP12, that's tiny, but it's not a bad wiping performance for what is a tiny window. The rear view is somewhat compromised, but thankfully very excellent door mirrors. Huge thanks to Peter, who purchased a replacement door mirror and has had it sent to me. It's black, but it's not broken and held together with gaffer tape, so that along with the door mean I'm going to have to get the rattle cans out.